And now, the high tier characters. So, these characters are a lot more fun. Gonna have a lot more fun talking about these guys. So, high tier characters. These are what I call tragic heroes. They generally have just one flaw about them, but other than that, they're incredibly strong. These characters should be getting picked every single game. The mid tier is like one or two of them, sure, but these characters should be getting picked every single game. They're incredibly good, incredibly strong. Not much else to say about them, but that they're just very good characters. So, but they do have one or two noticeable flaws about them. So, let's start this off with Toadsworth. Now, jeez, it's hard for me to talk about Toadsworth and not talk about Noki and Paratroopa as well. But I'll do my best to just focus on Toadsworth right now. So, first of all, X Factor -2, so he's pretty much tied with those other two characters I just mentioned, Noki and Paratroopa. And moderately volatile because he's actually been trending up a lot, and he could continue to go up higher. But this is why I did volatility instead of just potential to move up or down, because he also could be trending a little bit down. But it's hard to say. So pretty much okay. So the idea with Toadsworth is that he is a line drive star slinger. I mentioned this already. Line drive star slingers are incredibly strong in this game. The thing about him is that he doesn't actually need to use it. He is incredibly consistent singles hitter without using a star. The most consistent in the game. And that is really his main selling point. He is a star swinger who doesn't need to use a star. And that gives you so many options as a batter. And that's why he's a very valuable player, because you have so many, he's so versatile at the plate. I've always said, if there's bases loaded, 2 outs, somebody's coming up to base, you need to score some runs to tie the game or to win the game. Who do you want up at bat? I'm picking Toadsworth of anyone. Even, you know what I mean? Because you can go for the star swing to really guarantee that you're going to get on base. With the other star swingers of the game, let's say you star swing and goes foul, if you only had 1 star in the chamber, then you're screwed, right? The other guys can't really get on base without a star, but Toadsworth doesn't care. So he's just such a safe character at bat. The reason I have him as the weakest of these 3 star swingers, Noki and Paratroopa, is because he's difficult to put in the field. He's not going to excel anywhere in the field. And this is his main problem, is that most players opt to put him in center field, but his speed is base 40. A base 40 speed character should not be in the outfield. Again, center field is where most players put him, which is the safest option. But in general, he's not going to be bad there, right? Center field is not too important of a position in this game anyway. But, it will be noticeable at times. There will be at times games where balls land at the feet of Toadsworth that slightly faster characters would have been able to field. And it will be noticeable. It's not like you have Bowser out there. It's not that bad. He'll do fine, but again, he's very difficult to place in the field. And that's kind of why I put him a lot lower than the other 3. He's actually probably better. He really wants to be a pitcher, but he's not the best pitcher in the game. And you probably already have a better pitcher on your team at this point anyway. You'll probably already have Diddy or Dixie or Boo on your team. Because they get picked pretty much every single game. So for this reason, he's often played in center field. He's not going to do that well there. Other than that, there's really nowhere else to put him. You could try him at middle infield. Some players have been experimenting with second base Toadsworth, but in general, there's no shortage of good middle infield in this game, and so, again, you probably already have a good middle infielder on your team. So, yeah, that's the idea with Toadsworth. He's such a safe character. He's incredibly strong. I know I just mentioned a bunch of problems with him, but don't take that as me talking him down. I probably overrate Toadsworth more than most people do, or at least most players do. Serious players of this game usually consider him to be high tier or mid tier at worst, but he's incredibly strong. It needs to be known. Again, the versatility at the plate is just such an underrated thing. You don't have to hard commit to one option. Like with the other star swingers, you pretty much have to star swing. If you don't star swing, you're probably not going to get on base, but Toadsworth doesn't have that problem. If he uses slightly faster, again, speed is such a big factor in this game, at least in my opinion. So if he was slightly faster, he'd be a great character. he'd easily be top 10, 100% be top 10 if he was base 60 speed, because he'd be a good outfielder. He would completely outclass the other two Star Swingers, Noki and Paratroopa. At least in my opinion, he would completely outclass him. I shouldn't say it as if it's a fact, because it's a tier list video. It's all subjective, except for Koopa being the worst. In my opinion, he would completely outclass the other two, easily be top 10. I can see him being 8th. You know what I mean? If he was just faster. But yeah, Toadsworth, just an incredibly good character. He's also a little bit hindered with his chemistry. I'll talk about this more with Paratroopa, but having good chemistry is pretty. It can buff you. At least it can make you go up a couple places. And it's not going to make you jump tiers having good chemistry. We saw that with Koopa. But having good chemistry is enough to at least put you up a couple spots in the tier list. Moving on to Noki. So, yeah, again, another line drive star swinger. The idea with Noki is that she's a line drive star swinger that plays the outfield. She got a pretty good line drive star swing too. A little bit weaker. I think Paratroopa does have a more consistent star swing than Noki does, but you know, it's hard for me to quantify it. I'm just saying it by like experience, so you know, take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, she's a very solid outfielder. She can also play in the middle infield at second base, which means that, again, you have options playing her, picking her on your team. So it gives you a lot more freedom as a player, and I think this is a factor in this game that's pretty overlooked. Having options as a player, having the freedom to move your characters around, the freedom to make choices, to not have to hard commit to one type of field, to one type of play style. And Noki helps with that because you have a lot more options. You're probably going to put her in the outfield because besides Yoshi, you know, there's not that many dedicated outfielders in this game, so she usually does end up in the outfield. But, you know, she can also play the middle infield. So, again, it's hard for me to talk about Noki without talking about Paratroopa because they're very similar, very comparable characters. So, I really have to talk about both of them at the same time. So, again, Paratroopa is another line drive star swinger. He's very similar to Noki in that they're both 60 base speed characters. They both have the same throwing arm strength. Ooh, I wish I remember. I think it's base 60 throwing arm, but I could be wrong. All I know is that they have the same throwing arm strength. The difference is that Paratroopa doesn't have a slide and catch like Noki does, but he does have super jump. Now, if you're playing him in the outfield, slide catch is, in my opinion, a little bit more useful because super jump is really only going to be useful if you're trying to rob a home run. And you actually, you know, there's problems with that. You have to be able to run up to the wall fast enough, and then the home run's gotta be low enough to where super jump can actually rob it. It does happen frequently, or it does happen often enough where it's noticeable, but it's not something that's reliable. It's not gonna come up as often as slide and catch does. I mean, the slide and catch gives Noki a little bit more range to catch balls, despite having the same speed as Paratroopa. Paratroopa can also play third base pretty well, or first base, so those corner infield positions he can actually play pretty well. Again, there's the whole idea of versatility. Both of these characters do struggle to get on base, though, without a star swing. And that's kind of one of their flaws as characters, is that they rely too much on their stars, right? When you draft Toadsworth on your team, you have options. You can, most of the time you don't star swing, but if you really need to, you can use that star swing. These characters kind of have to use it. And if you don't use it, if you don't commit to using that star, then you're at a disadvantage just because they're pretty much a liability at bat. So the reason I put Paratroopa at slightly higher than Noki is because he's got Bowser chemistry, and Bowser chemistry is very strong in this game, especially if you're a batter like Paratroopa who is going to get on base pretty consistently with a star swing. Having that Bowser chemistry is incredibly strong, and yeah, I think, you know, I think that's enough to give him the slight edge over Noki. But again, I can see Toadsworth's pretty similar to these two characters also. If it wasn't for that, you know, if it wasn't for Toadsworth's fielding problem, you know, he'd easily be higher than them. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a problem with playing the field, Toadsworth, and that's why I put him lower. Paratroopa I give the edge because of Bowser chemistry. Noki's only got chemistry with Pianta, and Noki only became pretty relevant after Pianta became more relevant in the meta. So, you know, there's that. Noki's trended up a lot more recently. We used to think that Pianta was the worst character in the game. It's far from the truth now. He's he's a very solid character. And with that, Noki trended up because they have chemistry with each other. Yeah, Noki will work very well. I mean, let me go back real quick. Noki will work very well if you have Pianta on your team, because Pianta playing the infield plus Noki in the outfield means you have a very you have a very good chance to get that chemistry throw from the outfield to the infield. Combined with Noki's strong throwing arm, and you just have a very quick option to get the ball in to the infield from the outfield. So that's what makes Noki pretty solid, her chemistry. The reason I think Paratroopa is better because, I mean, it's Bowser chemistry. It's hard to beat Bowser chemistry. Best character in the game, you want to have chemistry with him. It's going to help a lot just with threatening your opponent. If you bat Paratroopa before Bowser, then giving Bowser chemistry. If you get hit Paratroopa on base and then Bowser has chemistry, your opponent pretty much has to walk Bowser. It's a free man on first and second, so... yeah, Bowser chemistry is incredibly strong. That's enough in my eyes to give Paratroopa the edge. Enough about those three. I'm kind of sick of saying the word line drive, star swing, so let's talk about Birdo. Moderate volatility, because this character is very hit or miss for me. At the bat, she is... actually, let me talk about infield real quick. So one of the best infielders in the game because of her suction ability. And this is why she's a high-tier character, because her star swing relies on... RNG, the weird ball. Sometimes it just goes directly to an infielder, and sometimes it jumps over the infield and you get a double or a triple because the ball bounces all over the place. It's very RNG dependent, so I personally don't like that as a player because I want to have consistency. That's why I think Mario Star Swing is very strong, because it's a consistent consistent base hit, whereas Birdo is very hit or miss, it's quite literally RNG dependent. If Birdo was only defined by her ability as, with a star swing, she'd be a mid-tier character, but her utility as an infielder is just so strong, and that's strong enough to put her as... Her infield utility is already enough to make her a mid-tier character at worst anyway. Combine that with her incredible star swing, easy high-tier character. I underrate this character a lot, but she's really trended up on me just because of how powerful that star swing can be and how powerful she is in the infield. So that's really what makes Birdo just a great character in this game. Drawback is that she has to be your captain, but no one has a problem with doing that, because if you're going to star swing every single time with her, you don't want to spend 2 stars on it. So she does have to be your captain. Or I shouldn't say has to be, but she is so much better when she is your captain. If uncaptain Birdo might honestly drop down a tier. From A to A minus to B plus? I don't know. Maybe. But she's noticeably worse when she's not your captain. Last thing, too, is the RNG is just mentally taxing. So if you really want to play the mental game against your opponent, if you really want to, get into mind games, then Birdo is a great option because... having to stare down a Birdo star swing every 9 at-bats is terrifying as a player. I hate seeing it. I just don't like this character because I hate using Birdo because it's unreliable star swing. I hate pitching to Birdo because unpredictable star swing, so I don't like this character, but I have to be honest, she's incredibly strong. She, again, X Factor -1. Moderate volatility because she's incredibly hit or miss. Like I said, if her star swing isn't working, she'll be down in mid tier. So, if players figure out counterplay, if players learn how to, defend against Birdo star swings in the future, then she'll trend down. But other than that, I think she's gonna be pretty solidly placed in high tier. Just because, again, her infield utility is strong enough to make her a mid tier character at worst anyway. Moving on to Magikoopa. I love this character. He's got a line drive star swing again. Probably the best in the game of the line drive star swingers is going to be Magikoopa. He's also got magical catch. He's the only character with magical catch. Magical catch is essentially Birdo's suction or Yoshi's tongue. Slightly lower horizontal range, but it's also got very high vertical range, and it's a little bit slower. it's not going to be an instant catch like Birdo or Yoshi. He's got to do his twirling nonsense in order for it to work. Yeah, so Magikoopa is an incredibly strong ability, one of the best abilities in the game. He's arguably I spelled arguably wrong. It was probably 2 a.m. when I made this, so arguably the best first or third baseman in the game. I think King Boo is the only one who compares to him. But other than that, Magikoopa is such a good corner infielder. Many players like to put him at second base, but I personally don't think he's strong enough there. He's going to be pretty good there, but he's so much better at third base or first base because he will field so many balls that try to go up that foul line. He will field a lot of balls that are actually foul balls, but he'll just catch them and they're fair. He's going to save your butt a lot of times. He's very strong in those positions. I should have mentioned before too with the line drive star swings, they tend to they tend to shoot towards the left field because that's where you want to hit singles. You want to hit singles to left field because first base is towards right field. So if you have Magikoopa at third base, he's very solid at just shutting down those star swing options. If it comes a little bit too close to Magikoopa, he's going to scoop that up immediately. So that's really why he's good. If line drive star swings weren't a thing, he'd be pretty bad because, mid tier, but maybe mid tier. I don't know if they weren't a thing. But the fact that he's a line drive star swinger and one of the best, if not the best, third baseman in the game, is just undoubtedly he's a high tier character in my eyes. He has one huge drawback, and again, this is why this is the Tragic Heroes tier. They all have some flaw about them. His one main flaw is his incredibly low speed. I personally believe that Blue Magikoopa is the best just because he at least helps with that low speed with base 20 speed instead of base 10. But base 10 is the worst in the game. Like Bowser, Petey, and Magikoopa have base 10. I might be forgetting someone, but it's the slowest that you can get in the game. You can't get slower than 10 base speed. So Blue is at least a little bit faster. But green is the best pitcher. Red is the best fielder, and I don't know why you'd pick yellow. But yeah, in general, I choose to go with blue. Yeah, you could use the green variation to make him a pitcher, but it's not that great of a pitcher if you make him green. He wants to be at third base so much. Like he's so much better at third base. So, you can experiment and make him green just so you can have a relief pitcher on your team. That's an option. Actually, that's not that bad of an idea. But personally, I just like blue. I think green and blue are the two best options. I think red is very overrated. The idea with red Magikoopa is that he's a stronger hitter. But like stronger hitter in what? Because you're not going for home runs with him. It's not like Pianta where you make him red because the red variation is better at hitting home runs. You're not hitting home runs with Magikoopa. So I don't really see the logic in making him red. I guess maybe it makes his singles bat slightly better, but again, I don't think it's noticeable. I don't think it's noticeable enough to where the reduction in speed is, the reduction speed is worth it. So. But yeah, Magikoopa is just incredibly good fielder, incredibly good third baseman, line drive, star swing. It's hard to beat that, really. Very strong combination. King Boo, oh god. So, King Boo is a funny character to me. Again, we're going back to this versatility idea. He's one of those characters, he's a home run hitter that doesn't need to go for home runs, although most people just go for it anyway. But if he comes up to base, you can still go for a single with him, and he'll actually likely get on base. He'll likely get on base. There's like a decent chance to get a double too. Actually, let me talk about his fielding real quick. I'll get back to this batting thing, but super jump and a throwing arm of 70, so incredibly strong throwing arm. And he's got super jump, so he's designed to play third base. Again, this is why I say him and Magikoopa are essentially the two best third basemen in the game. Yeah, super jump, throwing out 70, so good. He's got Boo and PD chemistry. That's awesome. If you have Boo on your team, you should try to get King Boo as well. If you can get a chemistry booster to help you hit home runs. And yeah, now we're back to the batting. So he's got a singles bat. He has an ability which is not marked in the game. So part of the modding and the data mine is that we found that there's two abilities in the game that the game doesn't actually tell you about, right? So you have abilities like Magical Catch and Super Jump and yada yada yada. There's actually 2 abilities that the game just doesn't tell you about. One of them is the curved bat trajectory that King Boo, Boo, and Boomerang Bro have. I coined the term super curve, but it doesn't have an official name. The other one is actually funny. It's just the splatting animation that various characters do when they try to jump on the wall. I call it wall splat. So, who has it? Wario, Hammer Bro. Yeah, you know, two hidden abilities. Fun fact there. Anyway, he's got that super curve. So the reason that's relevant is because if you go for a home run, if you don't hit a perfect hit, or, you know, instead of pop flying to the outfield like with most other home run hitters, it'll just curve foul. And so rather than being out, you just get a strike, which is a lot better for you as a batter. Granted, it does come with a drawback, is that you don't have that much leniency with timing when you're going for a home run. So, you know, with other characters, you can hit the ball to center field, left field, right field, anywhere in that range, and it'll be a home run. But King Boo doesn't have that luxury. He has a much smaller window, because if King Boo hits the ball towards the left field, by the time it actually reaches it, it would have curved too much. I'm going to foul. So you have a much stricter timing and a lot tighter of a window to actually hit home runs with him. So again, it's a give or take. It's a drawback there. The reason the super curves still benefit because of his singles bat. If you go for a single with him, the curve trajectory, like super curve, Boo has the same exact advantage, where the curve makes it so that way the ball will go towards the fielder and then curve away and then likely roll foul, and that's just, you know, perfect formula for a double, if not at least a single. And so, you know, again, this is where King Boo shines. He's got that versatility. He can go for home runs if you want to swing for the fences. But if you're in a position where you don't want to risk the home run, you can still go for a single, and he'll probably get on base, if not a double. And again, one of the best third basemen in the game. This is a high tier character, and there's no way he's dropping down low volatility. Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, I don't know. This is pretty much all I wanted to say about King Boo. He's just so good. I guess the one, is there even a, no, I don't know, what's his drawback? Maybe slow, oh yeah, I already said I mean, slow speed, of course, everyone's got slow speed. I think it's base 30 speed, and then his drawback is that his home run window is very small, like I mentioned before. It's a little bit more difficult to hit home runs with him, because you have a much tighter window to hit the ball into. Moving on, we have Boo. So, funny enough, actually, I participated in a debate tournament where I had to argue that Paratroopa was better than Boo. But, you know, going into the debate, I honestly consider them to be, like, pretty much the same. But, it's ironic now, because I had taken the side of Paratroopa, and now here I am taking the side of Boo. So, the reason that I put Boo so much higher in the tier list now is because, again, the data mine, this super curve ability. I had not previously known that Boo had this curved trajectory with a singles hit, which made him so much more likely to hit singles and doubles. I just didn't know that was actually a thing. So when you hit singles with Boo, when you hit contact with Boo, incredibly high chance you get on base, incredibly high chance that if the ball hits the ground, it's gonna be a double. Because like I said, the ball will curve, hit the ground, and likely roll foul, or in general just roll away from the fielders, and it's very difficult to field those. You're likely on base, get some RBIs, get a double. Just a fantastic singles bat. Very, very consistent. Not only that, he's the best pitcher in the game. Again, you can argue Diddy or Dixie's up there too, but I consider Boo, the whole strength of Boo is that he's got the highest curve stat in the game. Base 90, nobody else challenges him. He's the only character in the game with base 90 curve. The second highest is, I believe, Diddy with 80, and then Dixie has 70. And is Waluigi 72? I meant 70 also, not the number 72. I think Waluigi's also 70, but he might be 80, but don't quote me on that, I could be wrong. Yeah, he's the best pitcher in the game. Just his fantastic curve stat is, even though he doesn't have any release angle like Dixie Kong or Donkey Kong do, he pitches the ball straight. His high curve stat means that you're still able to bait out star swings, and this is something that is incredibly strong that other pitchers don't have the luxury of doing. That's why I don't consider Daisy to be that strong of a pitcher either. Is because Daisy's low curve stat means that, you know, it's very hard to fool the batter, right? With Boo, you can curve in and out, in and out, in and out, right? Go back and forth. You can like tease them. You can, you know what I mean? You have so many options with pitching Boo, and no other pitchers really give you that option. Maybe Diddy, but he's just so good at baiting out star swings. And like I said, star swings are so powerful in this game too. If you're able to negate them, or at least fight against them as a pitcher, that's incredibly strong. And then his singles bat utility is incredibly strong as well. The fact that you're able to hit singles and net doubles, get yourself RBIs, it makes him a very valuable pitcher. He's more than viable. He's a very valuable pitcher for exactly that reason. So yeah, I mentioned this a couple times already with other pitchers. I think I mentioned this in the Diddy and Dixie discussion, but his main drawback is that if he does get tired, then you're going to have a very hard time moving around your fielders trying to put in a relief pitcher because he's very bad in the field. He's only good at pitcher. He can play first base decently well, but that's pretty much it. He's one of the worst fielders in the game, actually. Him and King Boo are terrible in the field. So, you know, he really only wants to be a pitcher now. Granted, you can take that exact argument and flip it around and say it's the player's fault that, you know, they allowed enough runs for Boo to get tired, which is a completely fair point to make. So, I don't really consider that much of a drawback. The only way you can make this character better if he was a home run hitter, I guess. You know, if you were to combine King and Boo together to just have a nasty pitcher, singles bat, home run, then he'd be top 2, I don't know, but just fantastic character overall. Last character in this tier, number 5. So Petey Piranha, he's the only character in the game that challenged Bowser's home run hitting potential. He's got the same charge swings power stat of 95, but him and Bowser are the only two with that stat. The difference between those two is that Bowser has a much greater contact zone, whereas Petey has one of the smallest sweet spots in the game. So I mentioned some of these stats here. Take these with a grain of salt because we haven't actually confirmed anything yet. Like, we don't exactly know what these numbers mean. So, for example, we don't know if this is a percentage or if it's an objective number. So, we don't know if two characters, for example, have a nice contact spot of 30. Does that actually mean the same distance, like the same range, or does it just mean percentage of their bat? We actually don't know that yet, so take these numbers with a grain of salt. But looking at the data mine, it does appear that Petey has the smallest perfect contact spot, and the nice contact zone is also incredibly small as well, with only 30. So yeah, that's his main drawback, is that although he is an incredibly strong home run hitter, it can be very difficult to hit homers with him, just because it's hard to position yourself. You don't have as much leeway, right? Bowser's got a massive contact zone. It feels like every time he touches the ball, it's a home run, whereas Petey Piranha does not have that same luxury. You actually have to time it, position it incredibly well, and so it's a lot more difficult to do with Petey. Going off of his bat, outside of that, he has the best throwing arm in the game, which makes him the best catcher in the game. So his throwing arm is 100. No one else even comes close to that. I think the second best, again, don't quote me on this, I think the second best throwing arm is 70 or maybe 80. I can't think of anyone else who has a better one than that. But 100 throwing arm strength, that's crazy good. Anyone who's played this game with Petey Piranha has noticed that his arm is incredibly strong. So he's one of the best catchers in the game because it's very hard to steal against him. He just beams the ball over there. If you have Donkey Kong playing second base or shortstop, then you'll get a chemistry throw there as well. So solid, so solid. So, yeah, his main drawback, again, low speed, I guess. If you're going singles bat with him, then the low speed is going to be a drawback because it's difficult for him to run to get the base. Being that he plays catcher, I don't think the low speed actually matters that much. I think the main drawback is his small contact zone, because it just makes it very difficult to hit home runs with him despite his very high contact spot. But yeah, just like that, guys, number 5 in the game, Petey Piranha. That's going to round out this video. Next one is going to be the top tier characters. I only have 4 characters in the top tiers, but I think that is enough because they're a lot to talk about those characters. So stick around for that. That one will be exciting.